There's a lot of organizations out there that demand to be the archive keeper, and then they do a terrible job at it. They lose the assets they were in charge of keeping. This has happened multiple times in my career. When I left Fallout, I was told you have to destroy everything you have, and I did. My entire archive, early design notes, code for different versions, prototypes, all the GURPS code, gone. The amount of stuff that's been lost about Fallout and its early development saddens me. I had it. I had that in digital form and was ordered to destroy it. Hello fellow travelers and welcome to the Hardlight Network. Alrighty guys, so if you've been subscribed for really any period of time, you know that the issue of games preservation is huge for us here at the channel. The decline of physical media and the growing scarcity of physical games, especially classic titles, creates unique challenges for accessibility. And this issue is only compounded by the limitations of digital distribution platforms in terms of the potential for lost titles due to server closures or publisher policies. And in today's video, we will be talking about how both of these issues have affected one of my personal favorite franchises, Fallout. And in today's article, we will get some unique insights from Fallout creator Tim Cain as he outlines how major companies actively work to destroy the legacy of older titles. But before we get into it guys, do me a solid and hit that like button if you like this video, subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the content that I've got coming up for you guys in the future, and also take to the comment section down below with your thoughts on this issue. Also, if you want to support this channel further, there are super thanks and memberships options down below. Be sure to join the channel today for access to exclusive content and perks that you can't get anywhere else. But without any further ado, let's get into today's article. And of course, our reading today comes to us from GamesRadar.com and is entitled, Fallout creator Tim Cain says he was, quote, ordered to destroy his personal archive of the RPG's development. Quote, individuals and organizations actively work against preservation. Quote, there's a lot of organizations out there that demand to be archive keeper, and then they do a terrible job at it. With each passing year, game preservation grows more and more relevant, and you can add Fallout creator Tim Cain to the many voices calling for a more serious approach to saving video game history. Cain knows the struggle of actually preserving this stuff better than most. After all, he was ordered to destroy his own Fallout archives when he left developer Interplay. Quote, there's a lot of organizations out there that demand to be the archive keeper, and then they do a terrible job at it, Cain says in a new YouTube vlog. They lose the assets they were in charge of keeping. This has happened multiple times in my career. When I left Fallout, I was told you have to destroy everything you have, and I did. My entire archive, early design notes, code for different versions, prototypes, all the GURPS code, gone. Cain says that Interplay intended to keep an archive internally, but they lost it. When they finally, a few years after I left, contacted me and said, oops, we lost it, I thought they were trapping me into a, we're going to sue you if you say you have it. Turns out no, they really lost it. Code for the retail version of Fallout was eventually recovered, Cain says, but many elements used in the RPG's creation have not. The original artwork is gone, the original version of the game, which used the GURPS tabletop system, is gone, the physical clay models used to create the talking heads in the original Fallout games are also lost, Cain says. While game preservation is often conflated with the availability of games on modern platforms, true preservation work done by organizations like Video Game History Foundation is much more about saving the history and context around the creation of games, like the development material Cain is talking about here. While some companies are now taking preservation seriously, as we're seeing with PlayStation's massive internal archive, that wasn't always the case in the past, and still isn't universally done today. Quote, individuals and organizations actively work against preservation, Cain says. The amount of stuff that's been lost about Fallout and its early development saddens me. I had it. I had that in digital form and was ordered to destroy it. Regardless of how well Fallout was preserved, Cain is confident it'll still be remembered well into the future. Bethesda making that IP popular is a big chunk of why it's going to be remembered in 50 years, or even a century from now, he says. So many other games that came out in the 70s and 80s and 90s, the code is gone. The art assets are gone, Kane concludes. Sure, you can try to crack open the databases and pull out those things, but you're only getting the final stuff. You're not getting the original source code or art. I think it's even happening for the thousands and tens. Probably now in the 20s, stuff is being lost. And while that's the end of the written article, you already know that I've got lots more to say, especially when it comes to the issue of Fallout. In terms of preservation, however, I think I've made it pretty clear in multiple videos that major companies don't necessarily care to preserve these legacy titles if they can't make a buck off of them. Many classic titles have already been actively scrapped because some suit and tie corpo decided that they weren't valuable. Since they couldn't be monetized in any significant way towards modern audiences, they're simply left to rot in the digital graveyard. Contrary to that popular meme from the early days of the internet, not everything here is forever, especially if it's not actively maintained. And sure, it's one thing when a company accidentally loses the original art assets or source code for a classic title, or even abandons it due to it not being profitable. But what about when a company actively despises the legacy of an IP that they've come to own? For me personally, I think this is a fate worse than death when it comes to these titles, and if I had to choose one or the other, I think I'd rather titles just be lost to history rather than their legacy be actively corrupted by the people who are supposed to be maintaining them. And in my mind, there is no better example of this than Bethesda's treatment of the Fallout franchise. While many people will attribute the franchise's recent success to Bethesda's entry into the series, I think when you dig a little bit deeper, there's something more insidious going on underneath the surface. Fallout 3 was an amazing game, and I've got lots of nostalgia tied up into it because it was my personal entry point into the franchise. After multiple playthroughs of Fallout 3's main questline as well as its DLCs, I purchased 1, 2, and Tactics to learn more about this game's history. And when Fallout New Vegas was announced, I was over the moon because some of the original developers of the first 2 games were involved with its creation. But this is actually where the cracks began to show. Bethesda allowed Obsidian Entertainment to create Fallout New Vegas as a one-off spin-off to the franchise. And it's no secret to the fanbase that Bethesda holds a certain level of resentment towards New Vegas and its developers because it's an objectively better entry into the franchise than anything that they've personally developed. And I say this as a day one player of Fallout 4, a game that I have nearly 1,000 hours into and that I still play to this day. Bethesda's entries into the franchise have radically departed from the lore established in the first 2 games, as well as what was built upon in New Vegas. The themes and philosophies that grounded the factions in Fallout 1, 2, and New Vegas were either actively changed or actively covered up by Bethesda. And all spoilers aside, the Amazon TV show is an even more radical departure from the original titles and New Vegas. Bethesda is fiercely jealous over this IP, and it has driven them to actively meddle with and retcon the history of the original games. They aren't preserving the original vision of the franchise because the games and TV show that we have today are nothing like the original developers intended. Apart from some superficial aesthetic elements like the 1950s Art Deco design, the retro-futuristic technology, and the nuclear-blasted wasteland, the original entries into this franchise have nothing in common with Bethesda's creations. And none of this is to say that Bethesda's games aren't fun. They genuinely are, and I still love them to this day. But the history and the context of the original franchise has been completely obliterated. But that's going to do it for this video, guys. Thank you so much to everybody who has watched up to this point. If you can, do me a solid and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the content that I've got coming up for you guys in the future, and also take to the comments section down below to let me know what your thoughts are on this issue. If you're a fan of Bethesda's entries into the franchise and you've never played the original games or New Vegas, I don't want this video to come across as hostile towards you. I genuinely want you to continue to appreciate the franchise for what it is today. and I honestly hope that the second season of the Fallout TV show performs well. However, I want to outline to you that the original vision for the franchise is nothing like what Bethesda has created. Todd Howard purchased this IP with his own money and then turned it into something that is wholly and uniquely his. But of course, there's still so much more to cover in the future, so as always, thank you guys for watching. If you liked the video, leave a like, and until next time, love you guys, safe travels.